Patreon Q&A number 95. I want to thank all 123 of my incredible patrons. Guys, I love you so much. Thank you for continuing to support me the way that you are. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all of the series that I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Joseph E. asks, what's up, Sean? Love all the content we're getting. Hey, thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that you appreciate it. My first question is once again about Awakened Garou. In your latest One Punch Man chapter review, you said that the attack that Sairochi did was pretty much God level. Do you think Awakened Garou will actually be disaster level God and will actually give Saitama some excitement? So unfortunately, no. I don't think that we're going to get any kind of like dialogue box or anything like that. You know, the thing that says threat level, whatever. I don't think we're going to get that for Garou, and it's not going to say God. I don't think we're going to get a box or any kind of threat level for him at all. And yeah, it doesn't happen in the webcomic. And I'm not basing it entirely off of that because at this point, you know, we all realize that it's not literally copying the webcomic, you know, panel for panel like it was before, and not even specifically staying to the exact story either. So at this point, literally anything can happen outside of the major, you know, story points. Those are pretty much all going to stay the same because they kind of have to, but everything in between there is fair game, including just straight up making Awakened Garou literally disaster level God. Now, I don't, like again, I said, I don't think that's going to happen for a number of reasons. The one that I'm sure everyone is saying is that one is saving disaster level God for later on in the series, and I agree with that. Of course, he is saving it because that's like a seriously powerful card to play. You kind of want to save that in your hand, not play it too early on, just like the Blast card. One has a whole bunch of powerful cards in his hand right now, and he's just waiting to play them. So no need to use those for the early game. That's late game type of stuff. At the closest that we're going to get to this is the dialogue that we get from him. Like when he says it, like, I am Shibawa's prophecy. I am disaster level God. Like he's going to say that. And I'm sure a lot of the manga onlys or the manga casuals are going to take that for face value. And that means that he is disaster level God because that's what happened with the webcomic. That's why we got that whole big confusion with all of that stuff. And also a lot of, you know, like motion manga on YouTube with the titles and stuff like that. But that was another time. So another reason that he's not going to be disaster level God is because how the fight goes out with him and Saitama. Now, again, this is definitely going to change. Murata, you know, said it essentially from the start that this was going to be a bigger fight than Saitama versus Boros. Does that mean we're going to see feats that eclipse Sairochi shaving the earth? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the serious table flip will be on a much grander scale, possibly. It remains to be seen. But regardless, I do think the fight will kind of more or less be the same, and that is Saitama ultimately dominating Awakened Garou. Like, he will have his moments after he uses the abandonment, no doubt. But aside from that, it's never really a close fight. Like, Meteoric Burst Boros fight is way closer, and I'm you know, of course, we're comparing it to the webcomic, but I think it's more or less going to stay the same, because I think that's the narrative that one wanted. This isn't so much Saitama's fight and Saitama's moment, this is Garou's moment. This is like Garou, you know, we've been following his own series. Like, Garou is his own MC, and this is the end of the first part of his series, I guess. So this is more so him taking a beating rather than Saitama being challenged. And that being said, Disaster Level God would really be diminished if Saitama was able to take down somebody with that level as easily as he does take down Garou. So I think it's going to need like definitely a serious punch, minimum effort to take down one of these individuals. That's just the way that I see it personally. But anyway, second question, what if Suiryu took the monster cells from Goketsu? How would that fight play out? So, I mean, Goketsu even himself says that Suiryu would become almost as strong as him, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically insinuates that Goketsu himself would still be stronger than Suiryu. Maybe that's true, maybe not, but that also kind of means that Goketsu is stronger than Suiryu as a human, which is possible, of course, but man, that's hard to believe. You know, he'd have to be like on, you know, a really high level. I mean, he did win the martial arts tournament. Anyway, I think Suiryu would push Goketsu if he ate the cells, but I don't know. I'm going to trust Goketsu here and say that he would probably still win, but maybe high diff. Beowolf asks, what's up, Shonen? Beowolf here. Just wanted to say some quick awesome job on the Chapter 132 review and the follow-ups. You do good work of pointing out stuff that other people might have not caught the first time. You also put out some good opinions on the table for the readers. Just want to say thanks for that. Hey, thank you, Beowolf. You are too kind, my friend. Oh, and loving the colored panels, too. Hey, I'm trying. I'm really appreciative of all the artists out there. So I have two questions. Do you think that God will appear with Sairochi after he's defeated in the current arc? Like with Homeless Emperor? Yeah, You know what? I actually think it's a good chance something like that will happen. I don't think it's going to be as direct as it was with Homo Semper, and I don't think it's going to be as aggressive. Obviously, he's not going to kill Psychos, but I do think she might have a similar moment where it's more of a feeling rather than like exact dialogue exchange. So maybe like the Jupiter thing shows up again, like what I think is his true form, and then I don't know, she feels that he's dissatisfied with her, and then he takes the power from her. I totally think that's going to happen, something like that. And I have watched Attack on Titan, but I'm super rusty on it, so I would hold off on the questions for now. But when season 4 comes out next year, I'm going to go back into Attack on Titan because I want to review that season as it airs. So about 12 weeks or 9 weeks out from season 4, then I could start taking Attack on Titan question. Crusader deus vult asks, deus vult shonen, it's me, Crusader. Sorry for yelling. The last chapter was awesome. It's like some crazy feat of power. I also had wings, pizza, and sushi this week, and my favorite is hibachi. First question is, do you think Sairochi could cut the planet in half as she fired straight down? In theory, yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, she'd be going through the core and everything, and also we don't know how much power she needed to use to take off that hunk of the earth, which was much smaller than cutting directly through it. So she would have to go, use way more power than what she used to cut off that continent. And then it'd have to go much deeper. So is it possible that she could even perform this feat? That remains to be seen. But on paper, in theory, I would say she could. But then, of course, that would be mutual destruction. Second question, do you think we will get to see Saitama take an attack like a nuke, being shot, hit with acid, poisoned by the organization? Like, they show up and they hit him with these crazy type of weapons, only for him to brush him off. I think that we're going to see something that Saitama hasn't been hit with yet. Nuke is kind of like redundant because Boros is more powerful than a nuke. And then like the acid stuff or whatever, I think it's going to be something different. Just another feat for Saitama to prove that he's essentially unbeatable within that world. So expect that for sure. Maybe it comes from the organization, but I expect them to be like Drive Night type of arsenal. Dino W asks, "Hey Shonen, sorry I missed the last Q&A. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Hey, thank you, Dino. I hope you did too. First question, who would win between Hero Hunter Garou and Hero Killer Stain?" So this is unfortunate for Stain because he's just outclassed in pure power here. It doesn't even come down to skill or quirk or anything. Hero Hunter Garou is just on such a higher level of a power scale, just because the series differed that way. So it would be like Stain going against a high-end Nomu or something. Like it's not going to end well for Stain. Of course, he can get the Hail Mary. He gets some of Garou's blood and then activates his quirk, and then Garou's done for sure. Garou's not going to be able to fight out of that quirk unless he has the blood type. But as far as I know, we don't know Garou's blood type. But I would say 8 times out of 10, Garou's going to take down Stain, low to mid diff. Second question, who would win between Psychos and 9? This is a similar predicament. 9, while he is pretty powerful for his own series, he's kind of tame compared to Psychos in One Punch Man because she's already a dragon level Esper. And, once she takes that elixir, she becomes like mid, high, I don't know, somewhere around there. It's just that like her eye laser feats, just her Esper abilities in general really trump everything that 9 can do, in my opinion. His weather manipulation is awesome, but it's just that she's dealing with such a higher level of power and characters, and she's proven against more so than 9. So I just think Psychos would probably take this one, but I don't think 9 would be completely chumped by her. Gardenshed asks, "Hello, Sharon, I hope you're doing well." I am. Hey, thank you, Garden. I hope you are too. Mirio taking on Class 1A, as we saw, was quite the feat. I was wondering which other heroes do you think could accomplish this? So I kind of agree with your top 13 prediction here, more or less. Let's go over who the top 13 is at this point. So, Hound Dog Man, or whatever that guy's name is. I don't know. Probably not. Gang Orca. I'm going to say no. I don't think he could replicate the Class 1A feat that Mirio did. Because we kind of saw, what Gang Orca was capable of against the students in the provisional license exam. And honestly, he kind of struggled against Izuku. And I'm not trying to make a mountain out of that molehill. Trust me, I realized that Gang Orca would absolutely dominate Izuku and Yaorashi and Todoroki if he really wanted to. But I think that was enough for us to see that, like, if all of Class 1A was taking him on simultaneously, he would definitely have some success, but I don't think he would dominate them as thoroughly as Mirio did. I mean, it's arguable if he could even win in the end. Ryukyu, maybe. Yoroi Musha, know nothing about him. Wash, know nothing about him. So you said Kamui Woods, probably not. I'm going to disagree with that. Because, first of all, Kamui Woods, my boy. Second of all, Lacquered Chain Prison. Come on, that was made for taking them all down at once. So I have full faith he could get the job done here. Crust, definitely. Crust is a powerhouse. He was competing with those high-end Nomus. Mirko, for sure. She would probably look better than Mirio against Class 1A, maybe. And then, of course, like, Edge Shot would definitely do it. I have full faith best. Genus could have did it. Hawks, of course. Endeavor, of course. Geruda asks, hey, Shonen, do you think a Goku and Gohan fusion would produce a more powerful being than Vegito? Absolutely. And to this day, I'm still disappointed that Toriyama teased us with that, took it away from us, and never gave it to us. You know, that was really mean of him. But absolutely, Gohan at that point in the story was much more powerful than Vegeta. I'm almost positive of it because Vegeta had achieved Super Saiyan 2 and he had the power-up from Majin, right? The Babidi power-up. And he had lost it at that point specifically because he died from the self-explosion. What is it called? Final explosion. And then he was dead for a long time and then he came back. So I doubt there was any kind of training or anything or any kind of power-up. So he was kind of just Super Saiyan 2. And I'm pretty sure Ultimate Gohan was like on the Super Saiyan 3 level or maybe even somewhere around there possibly. So yeah, Gokhan would have been way more powerful than Vegito in my opinion. Joseph K asks, hey Shonen, you might have been asked this before, but what if Moon Rider needed to defeat King in order to save a group of people? How would the scenario play out? This is definitely interesting. Haven't been asked this before. I'm going to go with the latter portion here with you saying that King would convince him, but not to run away. I don't think that's necessary. I think King could ultimately make a situation where everybody's happy and it would work out for everyone, basically, right? Like, whatever King says or does comes off as the best way possible. That's just how the aura works. Like, people see him in a much different light. And Moomin Rider is no exception, obviously. He's not exempt from the aura. Why would he be? And while Moomin Rider is a full-blown psychopath, he still can be reasoned with to some degree. And I think King would totally do that. So it wouldn't necessarily be King running away, but maybe it would come down to where Moomin Rider believes he won without throwing a fist and he saved the people. But at the same time, everybody sees it as King being merciful. Totally could see that happen, and that would fall within the bounds of one's writing, I think. Elle asks, the Psychic Sisters arc in the webcomic was great. How do you think it will change now, if any, in the manga with the release of Chapter 132? Take care. So yeah, it's going to change for sure. Everything is going to change from this point on. I mean, absolutely everything. What we know about the webcomic now, I don't think it matters anymore. I think one has finally decided to make them their own two separate continuities, and I know you're going to say, it's always been that way. I realize that, but I mean, like, one is really focusing on just the webcomic being its own thing. Like, he's not trying to, like, cater to the manga. Like, he is already doing the storyboards and all of that stuff, obviously. So he's letting the manga do its own thing, and he's letting the webcomic do its own thing. He's kind of just having fun with both of them. Or at least that's the way it seems right now. And I think he maybe ultimately made this decision when he came back from the hiatus on it, but... That being said, yeah, everything is going to change. Psychic Sisters arc especially, considering that's happening right after this arc. So expect, like, characters that you would never expect to be thrown into this arc, like Glasses, for example. I don't know, I just have this hankering in the back of my mind, this blind faith that Glasses is going to be incorporated post-Monster Association arc. At least I hope so. Legendarius asks, hey Shonen, so do you think Saitama will save Tatsumaki along with Flashy Flash to help bolster their relationship in the future webcomic chapters? No, I don't think he is going to. And I don't think that your idea here is bad or anything. It's definitely possible this could happen. I'm not going to rule that out. I just personally think it's unlikely, and that's because I think Saitama is just ultimately going to show up when he does. Like, I think it's kind of like the perfect timing. It's like the Dragon Ball Z Goku timing, you know? Very end, all hope is lost, MC pops up, saves the day. It would kind of diminish that if he were to, preemptively save people like Tatsumaki and Flashy Flash. Like, it ultimately has to come down to when they're already done and there's no hope left. And, like I said, that would kind of defeat that purpose, but still could happen. Lindu K asks, hey, Shonen, I've been following your channel for years now. Decided to become a patron because I love your content. Hey, thank you, Lindu. I really appreciate that. I was looking for One Punch Man content. I stumbled upon your channel, never looked back, got addicted, and it quickly became my favorite anime manga. Hey, that's how it starts, my man. My question for this week is, do you think the Monster Association arc will go down to Tank Top Master and Metal Bat going to be in this arc, going to be also fighting cadres, given one's comment? Maybe they'll fight Fear Ugly. Genos Bang arrives. So I'm thinking that Metal Bat is definitely going to be in Ground Zero here. He's going to be fighting Orochi's dragons. I talked about this in my speculation video earlier this week, but I also do think that he's probably going to fight a cadre or two or something. And as for the Garou rematch, I think the furthest that will go is he's just going to be another feat for Awakened Garou. Like, when Awakened Garou is just taking down all this S-Class heroes systematically, I think Metal Bat is going to be included in that. And Metal Bat's going to be like, you look different, or I don't know, he's going to make some comment about Garou, and Garou's going to be like, things are different now, and then he's going to one-shot Metal Bat. Or this could be one's opportunity to really show Metal Bat's power, and Metal Bat is like one of the few individuals like Darkshine and Flashy Flash to actually get up after getting hit by Awakened Garou. That would be incredible. Mr. Awesome asks, what's up, Sean? When are you going to start a more adult-oriented channel named Seinen? Never. Anyway, my first question this week pertains to Prime, Bang, and Bomb. If they had wanted to, do you think they could have conquered all of Earth? And if so, for how long? Maybe. It's because we just don't know what the landscape of the world was like 50 years ago. Yeah, so, there was definitely monsters and stuff because that stuff kind of happened over 100 years ago or something like that, or at least it's implied. I don't remember the exact timetable, but it was definitely before Bang was born, I'm pretty sure. So there means that there had to be other powerful people out there. Like, every chapter in the webcomic, the world gets more depth, and we're finding out about people that were almost above dragon that have kind of just been living out there the whole time. So not taking into account for unknown beings out there, I guess they could until Blast came around. Because Blast is, probably in his 40s, so they're gonna, run into each other eventually, and Blast could solo both of them, in my opinion. And then if Bakuzan was swapped with Hood, I think Endeavor would win. Yep, that's right. Bakuzan, of course, he's a dragon. No doubt about that. But the saving grace for Hood was his regeneration. And while Bakuzan would definitely level Endeavor, Bakuzan has also proven that he's like a weird dude that plays with his food and stuff like that. So I think it would just, one way or another, Endeavor is going to prominence burn his head off. No way Bakuzan's going to survive that. Peter Griffin 149 asks, yo, Z, I DM'd you on Twitter a couple weeks ago. Finally got to become a patron. Oh, hey, you're LeBron. Thank you for finally coming on the Patreon pirate crew, bro. I appreciate it. Question is, I haven't gone back in the manga to see Boros Invasion. Asked the bearded worker what the threat level should be, and the glasses worker says dragon without a doubt, and the bearded worker then replies, this might be God. Obviously in the scene he's referring to the threat level, but this could be one trying to speak directly to the audience and hint that Boros possibly has some connection to God. Curious on your thoughts. Have a good day. Stay safe out there. Hey, you too, Peter Griffin. So this scene and a lot of the bearded worker scenes, coincidentally, this is all new to the anime. It's supplemental. Didn't happen in the manga. So I don't think this is one speaking to us. This is actually, if anything, Madhouse, because they added it themselves. This is one of their creative liberties that they took with season 1. There's definitely a possibility Boros is connected to God, and I'm going to make a video about that in the future. Don't you worry. I have a spicy theory on that, but I don't think it's being said here. I think this is just Madhouse and Bones, or the director of this episode, using the bearded worker to let us know that he knows, of everybody else, he knows that there could be a Boros there, the ship, the technology, the feat, the damage that it was capable of. He was like, oh, this, whoever is running this game could be a god level threat. because he's Blast and he's, familiar with this type of stuff. Proasek asks, how about that chapter? I was wondering the other day about the potential of the hero who non-lethally subjugates monsters and then uses them in turn to combat more dangerous monsters. If a hero such were to exist, how effective do you think they'd be? Keep up the good work, my dude. Hey, thank you, Proasek. So kind of like Drive Knight, chapter 119 or 120, when he took Neon's body. Definitely wasn't non-lethally. I mean, I guess it was non-lethally, but it wasn't non-violently. This would be interesting, and I could totally see this happening, and the Hero Association would be on board with it because they're all, shady dudes that already capture monsters and stuff like that, so they could have one of their own proprietary guys that they have using this type of stuff. I don't think he would be that effective, really, because, how is he controlling these monsters? Is he taming them? Like, if he can get a dragon and, somehow control it, then he's, of course, a dragon-level threat at that point. So it's how far would it go? Because that depends on how effective it would be. If he can, somehow control, 3 demon-level monsters and have them fight accordingly, that would be pretty effective. But I think you get to the point of diminishing returns if you just have tigers and stuff. Rudyhawk asks, hey, Sean, I've been a lurker for a long time and you make all my work commutes really enjoyable. Promise I'm only listening and not driving and watching. Hey, it's all good, Rudyhawk. You can do whatever you want. You can ghost ride the whip and watch my video on your phone. It's all good to me. My question is regarding the last chapter. We got a one punch kind of. So we understand that Psychos during her fusion saw God. While I went back to the chapter snooping around, I noticed similarities in the texts. Between God and Orochi's quote-unquote speech pattern in chapter 128. Are these the same individuals, and was it God instead of Orochi? So, hey, that's pretty perceptive that you picked that up, and I went to go check the original, Japanese raw versions to see if the text changed, and it is different. But I've also noticed that I don't think this is indicating God's specifically this is his dialogue. I think this is representing dialogue within the mind. It's not audibly heard. That's what is signifying, because when Orochi is fighting to take over Psychos, I'm thinking that's inside of her mind possibly saying that or something like that. And I'm not saying that you're wrong here. I mean, of course, it's a possibility that God does know Saitama beforehand, but he's never kind of indicated that he did. And also considering that Orochi came back from being goop, and that sequence literally happened a few chapters before that, it's extremely likely that Orochi is in fact referencing Saitama here, punching him in chapter 108. So I think that's what's going on here. I don't want to completely discredit your theory, because I'm saying there's a chance it's possible. I just don't think that's what's going on. shadowbatx. So, yes, you have a pretty interesting theory here. Honestly, I'm not just saying that. It's pretty intriguing because God seems to be more important to the story or the early game of the story than I originally thought, and that's thanks to Murata, of course. So, if he is this integral early on, it's possible that he's integral progressively after this point, meaning that he's going to tie into existing storylines. And another thing that I absolutely think is 100% on the money and is going to happen, and it's that there's going to be a reveal for why Blast failed to defeat or whatever Elder Centipede. There's a reason why Elder Centipede was able to get away from Blast, and there's a reason why they told us that specifically. So I think they're going to, once Blast is revealed and everything, we're eventually going to get to the point where he's going to flash back to that, or somebody's going to flash back to that moment. And there's going to be something significant that happens there. And what it is, I don't know. But, hey, shoehorn in God at this point. Why not? I mean, I think that would be pretty cool, actually. If that was, the ultimate motive as to why as to why Blast kind of stays on the sidelines, is because God has something to do with it, and he, because God does go after people, so maybe he was like, hey, Blast, you're really strong, why don't you become my disciple? Let's just kill all the humans, bro. And Blast was like, nah. God, got mad at him, and then, I don't know, maybe they had some kind of beef, but pretty interesting stuff here, shadowbatx, not gonna lie. But then as for your second question, the technique, the awakened Garou genius, or just Garou genius ability in general, it's possible that Blast has that. I mean, that could explain the whole bit of dialogue about having better fighting skills than King, I mean, there's got to be something to that, in my opinion. So I don't think Blast is maybe just a vanilla fighter. There could be some kind of technique to it, or maybe that genius aspect. The Skinny Giraffe asks, do you think there's any significant reason as to why God chose to appear like Jupiter? In my opinion, I think that's possibly what God's true form is, like what his tangible, literal, like being is. Like when we see from Homeless Emperor both times, I think that's just what he chooses his form to be, kind of like Ego from Guardians Volume 2. So I'm thinking like, yeah, he actually does look like that Jupiter planet, and maybe he's integrated into the Earth, maybe then rather just being the literal Earth, possibly. Maybe that's what Psychos was trying to tell us at the end of the chapter when she said she can fuse with the Earth. Second question. Most recent OVA, The One Bear. Who do you think would be able to be a match for all those characters minus Saitama? So you minimum Goketsu. And then Goketsu's real tough battle there would be Darkshine, but he's probably faster than Darkshine. So you need like Goketsu, Black S, Evil Natural Water, maybe even Golden S possibly. Individuals like that, maybe not Golden S, I don't know. But definitely Black S, Evil Natural Water, I think for sure could take all of them down if they all worked at them at the same time. thighsofzeus asks, yo, show first question has to do with King's feats to society. Besides what Shiranko mentions, are based on Saitama's normal board feats. Based on the action figure, people assume he's going all out, I think. So wouldn't he be considerably weaker than Saitama, and that's why Blast is stronger than King? Oh, man. I think we might be going too much into this at this point. And of course, I am too, but I don't know. It's just like, I mean, I personally assume what society is like. You assume what society is like, all of us, because like we just don't know for sure. So it's like so difficult to answer this question, because even them in the series don't talk about it. They never like distinguish Blast between King, and I think they will one day. But for now, I'll say that your guess is as good as mine, thighsofzeus, honestly. Second question. The hero for fun stuff being the main difference between Blast and Saitama. Blast gave up after being bored. Saitama kept going. I feel Saitama would give up now that he was only after the thrill. Blast could teach him that he's truly after instead of giving him a challenge. This could explain why he slaughtered the ninja challenge, trying to squeeze out more enjoyment. Thanks, Yu Yu Hakusho. Nice. I don't think Blast got bored. I think Blast was always kind of on the same level about things, being a hero, and he just decided to become the coach and watch things from afar, being the bearded worker. That's right. That's why Blast retired 2 years ago, because he became the bearded worker. I mean, and as for the whole Ninja Children stuff, you know, I joke about it all the time, but still, we don't know the truth about it. But there could be some truth to what you're saying there. Regardless, I do think that the hero for fun thing is more so about Blast deeming being a hero is being fun, if that makes sense. Like maybe Blast thinks that like the word hero is just not a good word. VertGod24 asks, hey Sean, my first Q&A. Been watching your videos for a long time now. Just want to let you know that you're awesome. Keep making great videos. Hey, thank you, VertGod. I appreciate that, brah. Would Atomic Samurai be able to kill Zombie Man with a focused atomic slash? I don't think so. And that's because the focused atomic slash was more so for like black ass guys like that, small guys. Since it's focused, the area of effect is much smaller as well. As we saw, it only took off like a hunk of black ass. It didn't even take like a full one out, or from what I remember. So that means it would only take off like a portion of Zombie Man. Like if it took off his head, he'd still come back from that, as we saw with Homeless Emperor. So a better method of attack here would just be a straight up regular atomic slash. I'm thinking that would probably get the job done here, because one in an interview a couple years ago said that if Zombie Man were to be like put in a blender or something, he wouldn't be able to survive it. And that was 5 years ago, obviously, before the manga adaptation of Chapter 101. So we don't really know the limit of Zombie Man yet, but I would say that Atomic Slash is probably going to do the job. Water Bottle asks, hey, Shona, I got another Bortles question. Do you think the Bortles had any plans for after the prophecy, after the seer told him had been fulfilled? So this is a very interesting question. And I would say that, and going to the end of your question here, or was he expecting to lose? I don't think Boros was expecting to lose. I think he was ready to die for sure. But he was expecting to go and have the best fight of his life, and he was going to fight to win. But if he died, he died, and he would have been at peace with it, as we saw, evidently. But I think if he were to win, I think he just would have kind of just existed. I mean, you're the dominator of the universe. This is all he knows. It's all he has ever known. It's like he's practically institutionalized by being all-powerful. So it's like you can't, I guess, not be all-powerful, right? Like, what is he going to do? I guess he kind of always has to be Boros. In varying degrees. Maybe he can ease up off of the domination and maybe just be so more, like the ruler or whatever, and let his generals and whoever else pick up the slack for him. I just don't think Boros would, retire or anything like that. Zapphod B asks, what if Saitama used consecutive normal punches against the collapsing star roaring cannon instead of a serious punch? Very interesting question, Zapphod. I'm not sure. I don't even know if we have, an accurate metric, equation or whatever to use for how many how many normal punches equal a serious punch. And I'm sure, there could be somebody in the comments, if this video is big enough, that would go out of their way to make a timetable or an equation table for this question. Even then, it really wouldn't matter because it would be taken literally. And, we shouldn't do that with manga feats and stuff like that anyway. But I'll say that, no. I think that consecutive normal punches, just from what we've seen, I'm not saying him spamming it for a minute straight. I'm just saying the standard consecutive normal punches that he's just used in the series, one that lasts for a second or two. I don't think that would have been enough to stop the collapsing star roaring cannon. However, I think if he kept doing it, eventually he would have just, nullified it. It would have just kept going and going and going into a blender of Saitama's punches. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 123 of my incredibly overpowered patrons. Guys, thank you again. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.